we had just mentioned that of the remaining forest covering the Earth's surface, we had said that it's primarily in the form of either northern forest, boreal forest, or tropical forest. And currently, the remaining tropical forest is greatly threatened. And it ends up, there's been a movement in these areas that are covered with this tropical rainforest, to produce grasslands for cattle grazing. Now, in our last chapter, when we were talking about biomes, we had talked about how the tropical rainforest has most of its nutrients stored in the trees, not in the soil. And the reason for that is, first of all, it rains all the time. It rains every day. And so any of the nutrients that are in the soil, they're going to get washed away. And secondly, it's very hot. And so there's decomposition and transition of the nutrients from the dead tissue occurs very rapidly. So it decomposes rapidly and gets washed away. And so in a functioning rainforest, what happens is it decomposes very rapidly and gets picked up by the trees very rapidly. But when you remove the trees, then you're left with a very poor soil, and grasses don't take the nutrients up rapidly like the trees would. And so the nutrients that were present there quickly are exhausted by the grasses, by cattle eating the grass, and then water washing away the rest of the nutrients. So what happens is they're trying to grow cattle in grassland in a tropical rainforest area an area that would be naturally a tropical rainforest. And what happens is it works for a while, but then the soil becomes too poor and they can't raise many cows on it. So what do? Oh, you burn some more of the forest. So we have this slash and burn agriculture that is eliminating much of the tropical rainforest. And there's some data they talk about in the Amazon in 2003, with modern technology, with the satellites, you can monitor this kind of stuff. And at that point, in 1 month, they saw there were 30,000 fires, slash and burn. The fires where they're burning these areas up. There were 30,000 fires burning in the Amazon at one time. So we're really losing a lot of these forests. The coastal Africa, these tropical rainforests are mostly gone. Haiti. I've made a number of trips to Dominican Republic, which shares the island of Hispaniola with Haiti, and even on the Dominican Republic side, where they depend on tourism, so they need the place to be beautiful and lush. Even there, when you're flying over parts of the country, you can see these forests being burned for agriculture. Now, what's interesting is there was a study that I saw done recently where they were trying to see, looking for ways to try and recover these ruined areas, these areas that were used for slash and burn agriculture and that have very low nutrients, and so they're just kind of wet, dirty areas. Well, there was a study that was done. There was, I guess, a lot of orange juice production in this area. And so they thought, well, what happens if we take the pulp and the peel from the oranges and we put it on this land? And so what they started doing is they started trucking these truckloads of orange peels and dumping them on the land. Now, I used to do a lot of hiking and camping and that kind of thing, and what I remember hearing that you don't ever want to leave orange peel in the woods in a temperate area like this, because it'll be there for like 2 years. It's very resistant to to decomposition. But this is the rainforest. So they did this for 10 years, and after 10 years, they just left it sitting there. And 10 years later, they went back, and they were stunned. The area had been completely transformed back into tropical rainforest. So by putting a product out there that is slow to decompose in an area where decomposition occurs very rapidly, it actually slowed the process down to where the forest could move back into the area. It retained the nutrients long enough for the forest that was adjacent to these areas to move back into the area. So there is always some hope in these cases.